Whether you are close to retirement or in your early working years, there is a step that you need to take today. It really can't wait. If you ignore it, it could cost you thousands of dollars in missed Social Security benefits. And it's just a little step that'll take less than 5 minutes too. So hang on for just a second. I'm gonna tell you what this mistake is and the steps you need to take today to avoid it. And if it's already happened, how to fix it as well. Hey everyone, I'm Devin Carroll, and on this channel I break down Social Security and make it easy to understand. If you're new here, consider subscribing and then click that bell. That way you'll be notified every time I come out with another helpful video. Also, stay tuned until the end of this video, and I'm going to tell you how to get the blueprint version of my book for free. And seriously, it's free, completely free. But first, let's dive into this video because that's what you're here to see. So what is this little step that you can take that may help you to avoid a big reduction in your Social Security benefits? Well, it's a mistake in your Social Security earnings record. Now, this earnings record is a history of your lifetime earnings that will be used for the purpose of calculating your Social Security benefit. If your Social Security earnings have been recorded incorrectly, or worse, not at all, it could make a big difference in your benefit amount. So why is this such a big deal? Well, it all goes back to how your benefit is calculated. The Social Security Administration uses your highest 35 years of earnings as a cornerstone of the benefit calculation. If any of those 35 years are incorrect or missing altogether, the average gets skewed. And mistakes in the Social Security earnings record are fairly common too. You can look at the earnings suspense file for proof of that, and that's where earnings go that they can't match up to an individual. Since the inception of Social Security, there have been a total of $1.2 trillion in wages that could not be matched to an individual and were thus added to the earnings suspense file. In tax year 2012 alone, the Social Security Administration reported $71 billion added to the file. So why are there so many mistakes? Well, most of these mistakes are not the fault of the Social Security Administration. A lot of these mismatches are due to employer reporting errors or name changes like from a marriage or some other clerical error like that. But thankfully, the Social Security Administration does have a good system for figuring these mistakes out and assigning the earnings to the correct records. But nearly half of the mismatches are never corrected. Now, some of these are due to the fraudulent use of Social Security numbers where there really just is no fix. So, for example, illegal immigrants using stolen Social Security numbers to gain employment. But the other mismatches are often legitimate earnings that just never get corrected. And unless you're vigilant about monitoring your earnings record, you could have an earnings gap that could have a substantial impact on your Social Security benefit calculation. Oh, and there is a time limit for getting this corrected too. Unless you meet an exception, which admittedly is pretty broad, you have 3 years, 3 months, and 15 days to fix an error. I'll come back and talk about those exceptions later. But first, let me give you an example of how earnings record mistakes can mess up your benefit amount. And instead of just using a wild guess for the impact, I use the actual online calculator from the Social Security Administration. Now, let me just say, I love this calculator. It does have some limitations, but as far as I'm concerned, it's the best calculator on the Social Security Administration's website. If you want to follow along, you can just go to ssa.gov/planners/calculators and choose the one labeled Online Calculator. In the example calculation I ran, I simply assumed the following. Individual has 35 years of earnings that started in 1984 and ended in 2018. And instead of going for a really high earnings amount, which would exaggerate the effect of this, I assumed that this individual started in 1984 with a salary of $35,000 and had a 2% raise every year. Now, this video is all about doing the calculation for yourself, and to do that, you need to know how to get your own earnings history. So in just a second, I'll show you how to get your own. But for now, let's look at this hypothetical situation so you can see the effect of a messed up earnings record. Now, under the assumption we just discussed, this individual would have a full retirement age benefit of $2,418. So that's the baseline amount. But what happens when the earnings start missing? So at random, I started at 1990 and started pulling the earnings out. The earnings for 1 year would decrease to $2,385. For 2 missing years, it would decrease to $2,353. For 3 years, it would be $2,322. For 4 years, it would be $2,291. And for 5, it would be $2,268 or $158 less per month. So you may be thinking, Devin, that doesn't sound like such a crisis, but how would this affect you over your entire retirement? If we take those same amounts and assume a 20-year retirement and an annual cost of living adjustment of 2%, we can see that that is now measured by the thousands of dollars. For 1 year, it's nearly $8,000. For 2, it's over $15,000. For 3 years, it's slightly over $23,000. At 4 years, it's more than $30,000. And at 5 years of missing earnings, it's nearly $38,000. Now, I don't think anyone would willingly give up any of those amounts, so hopefully you've seen the value of making sure your earnings record is correct. Here's how you can check yours. Go to ssa.gov/myaccount. Once you log in, you'll see the earnings record in the right-hand sidebar. Once you click that, you'll see a complete copy of your earnings history. It really is that easy. The hardest part is remembering the security questions when you log in. So what happens if your earnings history isn't right? If there's a mistake, here's how you go about correcting it. Now, I'm going to put a link to this in the description. There's a Social Security publication that discusses this, but here's the quick summary. First, you want to gather your proof of income. This could be from tax returns, W-2s, 1099s, and there's a few other documents you may could use. But if you can't find these, don't let the Social Security Administration tell you there's nothing that can be done. In their manual, they plainly state that an oral or written statement from the employer will serve as primary evidence of wages. Now, you want to let them collect that data, but once you have that proof of income or the ability to obtain that, you simply need to contact the Social Security Administration. They may have you fill out an SSA 7008, or they may do it for you. But once you get that income proof, just call the main office or your local office and they'll walk you through what to do next. Now, early in this video, I've referenced a time limit for correcting an earnings record mistake. And generally speaking, it is 3 years, 3 months, and 15 days. But there are exceptions, and there's one big exception that covers almost everything. They will revise the record to correct a mechanical, clerical, or other obvious error. And about the only time I interpret when an exception doesn't apply is when you didn't file your taxes before the time limit. You'll still have to pay those Social Security taxes, you just won't get credit. So you may be asking yourself, if the exception is so broad, what's all the fuss? Well, here's why. Like many of these Social Security rules, these rules on time limits are broad and sometimes not completely understood. The technicians at the Social Security office have a lot on their plate, and understanding the nuance of every rule is not something they're always great at. I've seen cases where there was a clear exception, but the technician refused to enter the earnings because they didn't understand the rule. Thankfully, this client was able to get some help from a financial planner who understood these rules, and they helped the client draft a request for review letter. And a few weeks later, the earnings were right back where they should be on the client's earnings history. So listen, please do this today. It's a little step, but it could make a big difference to you and potentially your survivor benefits if you should pass away. Now, in just a second, I'm going to tell you how to get your free copy of my blueprint version of the book, and you want to hang on for that. But first, I want to tell you this video is brought to you by the Medicare experts at boomerbenefits.com. I know Medicare can be very complicated. There's Part A, Part B, Part D, Medicare Advantage, Medigap. It can be overwhelming to figure all of this out on your own. That's why I send all of my clients and friends to boomerbenefits.com. They'll start the conversation by finding out more about you and recommend the Medicare plan that's right for you. You can find them online at boomerbenefits.com. And now here's how to get a free copy of the blueprint version of my book. Now, it's not the full version. This is the full version. It's about 90 pages. This is the blueprint version. It's stripped down. It's the same topics. It's just the essentials, and it doesn't go into the same depth. But hey, it's free. If you want this one, it's on Amazon, $11.99, I believe. You can just click the link in the description and go right to it on Amazon. Also, I'll put the link here for the free blueprint version. So whichever one you get one of them and get yourself informed. Okay, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Also hit the like button. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you've already subscribed, but if you haven't, please do that now. I don't want you to miss anything. I'm going to have a few videos coming up on screen now that I think you're really going to like. Check them out, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching.